Won 80-69 in Poughkeepsie. And then the rematch January 20th out in Buffalo. That game we spoke of, Canisius with a big signature win for their season, 84-74.
And once again, getting up and down the floor. This is a team that really likes to get out and run. If they can get the game going at the speed and pace that they want, certainly they feel very confident that they've got a chance to pull the upset.
Hoppy Anium giving up 7 inches on the post. Can't do anything about the 7-footer James Smith.
But it's important for Smith to be able to take advantage of his size inside. He's got to score it into paint, or all of a sudden his minutes will dwindle here today because of some tough matchups for him on the defensive end.
Well, Smith, Rob, as you know, has finished the regular season with a flourish, scoring 19 points at Fairfield in the penultimate game, and then 24 points and 12 rebounds in that epic struggle in the victory over Siena last Saturday.
And not just his three-point shooting, but getting it done into paint in that game against the Saints.
Anium with the turnaround. Farmer the rebound for the Red Foxes.
Marist also likes to get out and run, and when they run, the ball is always in Jared Jordan's hands.
Ben Farmer misfires from beyond the arc. He's another Marist Red Fox from Connecticut with lots of friends and family here in town. Darnell Wilson up and over a triple team.
And that's the defensive mismatch that we were talking about. Smith's got to make sure he runs the floor each and every trip, because Darnell Wilson, as quick as any MAAC player, post player in the league, changing floors.
Jordan with his first shot attempt comes up with nothing. A little short on the floater. And Frank Turner, the co-rookie of the year, settles things down for the Golden Griffins, who are in their road blue uniforms with the white lettering and yellow trim. The Red Foxes as the #1 seed and regular season champ in their home whites. Anium driving at Smith, and he travels. Here are today's keys to the game, brought to you by Verizon Wireless. We never stop working for you.
Well, for Canisius, they've got to force Jared Jordan to score the basketball. He's more dangerous when he's kicking out to his teammates from beyond the three-point line. They've got to guard that. Marist, they've got to play without the pressure, and then they've got to shut down driving lanes. This is a Canisius team that puts the ball to the floor with their team speed to get into the lane, whether it's on the fast break or in the half court.
And here is why Canisius has to guard the arc, because, well, Will Whittington is the second most prolific three-point shooter in the history of the conference. James Smith is as good a three-point shooting 7-footer as there is in the country. Jared Jordan is on his way to being an All-American. And the rest of the lineup, Farmer and McNamara, whoever they bring off the bench, all seem to be able to shoot well from the perimeter. Blocking foul against Stilfen as Wilson again goes straight to the basket and forces the foul.
And to get back to that for a second, Doug, the difficult thing is that your natural tendency as a defender is to give help side when somebody's driving. When Jared Jordan turns the corner, your natural reaction is to step in and give help. Well, when you give up help, now all of a sudden you may take away a 2 from Jordan, but you give up open threes for his teammates.
There's an open 3 for Corey Herring, senior from Buffalo. So makes it 5-2 Canisius. And by the way, on that foul moments ago, they called it on Smith and not Stilfen. So #1 on the 7-foot senior from MAAC. And that senior from MAAC misses, but Stilfen has his back.
Well, Marist, the best rebounding team in the league, getting an extra opportunity on the offensive glass. It started with Smith getting a hand on the basketball.
Stilfen came in with this outgoing senior class. He redshirted 1 year, so he is a redshirt junior out of Bay Village, Ohio. Very important part to this Marist team that probably doesn't get as much attention just because, well, you've got superstars in the backcourt, but there's Stilfen again with a chance for a three-point play.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Doug, and sometimes you forget about Stilfen. Well, his coach Matt Brady doesn't. He said he's our rock. You can always count on him. Doing a good job carving up space inside. They have such great spacing on the offensive end. This is a Marist team that when they get going in rhythm on the offensive end can really be tough to stop. Stilfen part of Dave McGarrity's last recruiting class, and what a recruiting class that turned out to be. Dave McGarrity didn't have the opportunity to coach him throughout their tenure, but Stilfen, Jordan, and Whittington, boy, those guys have had a lasting impression on this Marist basketball program.
And after leaving his post as head coach at Marist College, Dave McGarrity worked in the MAAC office for a while and actually joined us on the broadcast for a year. And Sports Illustrated did a feature on Coach McGarity just last week as he has taken over the Army women's basketball program for the late Maggie Dixon and done a marvelous job sustaining the success and the groundwork that they laid last year. So we wish nothing but the best for Coach McGarity, who actually last week before the Siena game, they had a pancake breakfast and had Coach McGarity come in, and Coach Brady and the team honored Coach McGarity and thanked him for his contributions.
And it was good to see him on the broadcast as well, part of senior day as his son Dave, a senior on this team, and he was able to be there and enjoy that. And nice to see the nice reception he got from the fans in Poughkeepsie.
First points of the afternoon for the Conference Player of the Year, Jared Jordan. Harris, the senior on Canisius that we haven't spoken of, he is the leading scorer on the season for the Griffs, and he misfires on his first shot attempt. Jordan for three. As it rim out, Wilson had it knocked away to Spongy Benjamin, who missed, hung on the rim, got the rebound and put it in. I'm surprised there was no whistle.
Yeah, he hung on the rim way too long, and by doing that, he gave himself an opportunity to get the putback. Corey Herring coming out on fire, knocking a couple quick, deep threes to keep Canisius close.
And again, Rob, I want you to clarify, the rule is you can hang on the rim only if you're protecting yourself, if there are people below you, and that was not the case right there.
No, absolutely not. Should have been a technical foul. Instead, it turned into a quick two. Marist dominating inside in the paint early on. Spongy Benjamin, the guy that's given him good energy all season long. Matt Brady says when he scores the basketball, everything else for our team is so much easier.
Corey Herring has 6 of the 8 Canisius points on a couple of three-pointers. Other than that, the offensive end has been a struggle for the Griffs through the first 5 minutes or so. Turner with an air ball. Shot clock at 12.
Canisius, a team that's much more comfortable in the open floor, not necessarily in the half court.
Harris with a tough three with the shot clock winding down. Whittington with his first three. With a hand in his face. Nice closeout by Harris to make it a tough chance.
Well, there's always a hand in his face because you know that you've got to get out and find him. Somebody better get a hand in his face. Corey Herring with 3 quick threes here to get things going.
He missed a couple of games earlier this season with a shoulder injury. His productivity has been up and down, but he's a guy who can put up points in a hurry. That was a 2, and so now he's got 8 points, 8 of the 10 Griffs points. Jordan has another one rim out. And so Canisius down by 3 back the other way.
And Turner's been playing behind that high ball screen. The reason why Jordan's gotten a couple open looks from 3.
Nice double team by Smith to make Wilson kick it back out. Nonetheless, Turner turns it into 3 points, and just like that, the Griffs have tied up the #1 seed.
Oh, pretty good start, huh?
I would say so. The 8th seeded Canisius Golden Griffins and their head coach Tom Barana looking to take down the regular season champs. Frank Turner from the corner with the teardrop 3, and the MAAC Rookie of the Year ties it up. This is the time of the college basketball season when you are allowed to dream, and Canisius as the #8 seed looking to knock off #1 Marist after last night's first round win where the Griffs took out St. Peter's 62-48. Rob Kennedy had a chance to ask Darnell Wilson what he thought about taking on the #1 Red Foxes.
Oh, it helps definitely. I think we could beat anybody in this league, period, though, regardless if it's Marist, the #1 team, or St. Peter's and the seed they were. We just had to stay aggressive and go right at them just like we did during the season.
All right, well, congrats.
And indeed, they went after them during the regular season and split with them. Wilson was our Pepsi player of the game last night and hoping to be the man talking to Rob Kennedy after this game as well.
And certainly, as we said, that win during the regular season gives them that confidence. Canisius shooting the ball well from beyond the three-point line. In that win, they shot it well. Shot at 55% as they were able to rush out to the 10-point halftime lead and hold Marist off.
Gerald Carter has come into the game. The Red Foxes with another turnover. And so now Canisius. Turner actually nearly double dribbled And a chance for the lead. Indeed, it is the man who is the catalyst so far, Corey Herring, with another three-point shot. He now has 11 points in the first 6.5 minutes.
And I tell you what, every one of those shots, Doug, has been a quick release. He's stepping right in with a ton of confidence. But it was Frank Turner that got things going, turning the turnover into a quick score at the other end.
Stilfen driving on Sean James, who has come into the game for the Griffs. Good answer at the other end by Gerald Carter, a sophomore from Harlem who averages only 2.1 points per game.
The guys stepping up. We've got a good pace going right here, especially offensively for both teams.
Herring's been feeling it like he did back in his high school days at Timon St. Jude out in Buffalo.
Remember, he was their leading scorer and rebounder last year. Nobody guards Carter. Takes the second shot as if that's the shot that he's supposed to take.
The officials letting them play. Spongy Benjamin kept the ball alive somehow, and Jordan with a terrific move to put Marist back on top.
I suspect we'll see that one again. A big-time spin move to get himself deep into the lane and finish.
18-16, Marist back on top of Canisius.
That's been a big part of his overall improvement throughout his career, his ability to finish off plays once he gets himself into the lane. Jared Jordan's made himself an accomplished scorer.
Well, when they met back in January, Canisius, as you see, shot the lights out, got easy baskets, and held Marist in check. Turner with the big game, 24 points and 7 assists.
And he was the guy that got them out in transition when they were able to score a number of their baskets. Again, 84 points in their win, just 69 points against Marist in their loss.
This is Turner with the ball. Three-point trend continuing against Marist again here this afternoon. That's been Corey Herring. But it's Herring who couldn't handle the pass. And here comes Carter, who missed the layup. He didn't know on the way up if he wanted to dunk it or to lay it in. And he winds up with an 0 for 1 in the stat sheet.
Well, the first thing you got to do is just score the basketball. Don't worry about that. Didn't give the basketball up initially to Jared Jordan. Instead, tried to take it himself. He got there, but missed the bunny.
Jordan winds up hanging out with the Canisius cheerleaders for a moment. Foul off the ball against Ryan Stilfen. 11:59 left to go in the first half. We'll step away from what has been a terrific start to quarterfinal number 2. The winner of this one will take on Siena tomorrow in the semis.
450 years of Jesuit tradition are woven into a Fairfield University education, an education characterized by academic excellence and service to the community. Fairfield's success is fostered by a caring faculty that knows their students as individuals. Located just an hour from New York City, Fairfield University combines a park-like campus conducive to learning with the city's cultural and career advantages. Fairfield University, where education reflects the challenges and opportunities of a changing world.
18-16 Marist in what's somewhat of a homecoming for point guard Jared Jordan, who grew up just up the road in Hartford, playing on the playground at Elizabeth Park for countless hours, honing skills and moves like that one.
Well, that was a bit of a playground move as he got himself deep into the lane. You take a look, one of only 5 players in school history with 1,000 points and 500 rebounds. We talk about all of his assists, and certainly going to finish this season leading the country in assists back-to-back years. The only other player in NCAA history to do that was Avery Johnson. So certainly that puts him in fine company, but there's a lot more than assists to his game.
No doubt about that. Jordan is 3rd in the league in scoring at nearly 18 per game. 1st, as you say, in assists by a large margin. He's 8th in rebounding at over 6 per game.
And he's had 2 triple-doubles. He had come close a number of times throughout his career, but this year got over the hump and came up with a triple-double against Loyola and in the first meeting against Siena.
Frank Turner, the freshman at the point, guarded by Jordan, the senior, for Marist. Von Robinson into the game for the Griffs. Wilson's pass back out over the head of Robinson, and as soon as he touches, the whistle blows for a backcourt violation.
Well, the quickness of Wilson as he tried to maneuver along the baseline. Solid defense in the post to take away the baseline and force the turnover.
Well, under head coach Matt Brady, Jared Jordan has blossomed the last 3 years. As you see, the numbers have just gone off the charts the last 2 years. And certainly having a terrific supporting cast like Will Whittington as your running mate all 4 years, who can knock down every open shot you find for him, help to pad those totals. He's the first to be humble about it and tell you that, well, I certainly didn't do that all by myself, but he is the guy who gets it all going.
Here's the guy that gets it going for Canisius. Turner trying to push the pace.
Turner had it knocked away from behind by Whittington and lost it out of bounds.
But again, be aggressive, get yourself going, but then take care of the basketball. The one problem that Turner has had at times throughout the season have been turnovers, although he's done a better job at taking care of the basketball late in the season, but 6 turnovers already for Canisius here today.
And Marist has not been able to get into the track meet it was hoping to do in that regular season finale against Siena. Everybody was scoring at a high rate, including Mr. Smith, who went for 24 points and 12 rebounds. Jordan had 24 points. Whittington had 23. But here today so far, Canisius has enjoyed the tempo in its favor, Rob. James with a long jump shot. Wilson up above Stilfen. Right back to the hoop for 2.
He was aggressive last night. As we said, he was our player of the game in their first round win last night against St. Peter's, and he was once again doing it on the backboards.
Here's Smith. Nice little no-look to Stilfen, who didn't aggressively go for the pass, and Wilson was able to knock it out of bounds.
Now Smith has terrific skills. Talked about Darnell Wilson, the senior, getting after it on the offensive glass. Comes up with the rebound. Nice step through and finish inside. Last night he had 19 points and 8 rebounds, along with a couple of blocks.
Whittington didn't realize he was going to be open. Went for the pump fake thinking Robinson was still on him. Stilfen lays on the floor at the other end of the court. Jordan with the steal now, and actually he's got Stilfen by himself. He wasn't cherry picking. He just finally picked himself up off the deck.
Boy, he looked a little dazed though as he got himself up, and still a little groggy heading down, but he gets the quick 2. He's got 7 early points here.
Good recognition by Jordan to realize that he had his teammate at the other end, and to realize, well, looks like Ryan's okay enough to accept this pass and lay it in. 9:30 to go first half. Marist on top by 5. Farmer hustles for the loose ball and hands back to Jordan. Stilfen seems to have his wits about him again, calling for the ball in the post. Backing in on Wilson against the double and triple team. The redshirt junior from Ohio lays it in.
Now sitting in the post, demanding the basketball, being strong and aggressive. He's 4 for 5 here in the early going.
Offensive foul against Darnell Wilson.
And that's tough because those two guys have been banging on both ends of the floor. Looked like Stilfen had more contact on the offensive end on the other side last possession than Wilson had on that. Got to be consistent in how you're going to call it. Well, Jordan, as soon as he gets the ball in his hands, the first thing he does is look up. Able to find a wide open Stilfen. Quick hands on the defensive end. Gathers it, and then as soon as he does, bang, his head's ahead. He pushes the ball up there as well to find Stilfen, who, as you could see on that score, he was still a little dazed on that, but didn't bother him. Able to knock down the easy boot.
That foul on Wilson, his second of the game. Now it's time to take a look at the series history brought to you by Pontiac, the official performance machines of the NCAA and the MAAC. Neither of these teams charter members of the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference in its 26th season. Canisius joined back in 89-90, and Marist joined about a decade ago. And for the Red Foxes, it's been 20 years since they made it to the NCAA tournament. Not since 1987, when the dunking Dutchman Rick Smits, along with Trafton Davis and the boys, made it all the way to the big dance.
And it seems like every game's a close game that comes down to the wire. 17 of their last 23 meetings have been decided by 7 or less. If Canisius wants to make this a close game, they better start taking care of the basketball. 9 turnovers in the early going.
Well, that has been the one potential snag in the resume this year for Frank Turner, is that on occasion he turns the ball over with great regularity. There's another turnover, number 10, as Herring picks up that turnover. And his second foul as we take another look.
Well, Herring trying to be aggressive, but Miles Orman into the game, a guy that hasn't played a lot, but talking to Matt Brady earlier this morning, he said, I think Miles Orman will get some extra run here today because we're going to need his quickness and athleticism to try and combat the team quickness, the overall quickness of Canisius.
And truly, if you're going to win 3 games in 3 nights here at the MAAC tournament, you need all hands on deck. Jordan tried to bank it off the top of the backboard. I don't think that was an intentional shot that way, but it almost went in. Harris fouled by Smith. Number 2 on the 7-footer. There's James Smith, who will be a very tough person to replace next year for Matt Brady. He has done a terrific job this year, although he picks up the foul, and will send Harris to the line.
Certainly you want to challenge the shot as guys come on in, but Smith, very important to how they run their offense. His ability to step out beyond the 3-point line really gives them that terrific spacing as part of their rhythm offense, but now won't be able to create that space because he's going to have to take a seat with those 2 fouls.
There's Smith out with the early foul trouble. Chuck Harris gets his first point. The senior from Detroit is on the board. Now he averages nearly 15 points per game, so they do need to get him going. Jordan, wraparound pass to Benjamin. Corey Herring, while officiating, didn't defend.
Yeah, he was looking for the travel call instead of worrying about his man.
Had his hands moving in that signal for a travel violation, and watched the guy lay it in. Wilson up quick again, and the foul on Orman.
Well, Smith goes out, and all of a sudden you don't have his size inside. Right off the bat, Darnell Wilson takes advantage of that by coming up with the offensive board.
And Marist has pulled away a little bit. 8-point lead with 7:41 to go. Wilson will be at the line when we come back.
I know most of you just graduated high school last year, or maybe you've been working for a while, seen some things, done some things, but nothing has prepared you for what's going to happen now. We're going to set goals for each of you, way up here, way up here, and then we're going to help you exceed them, believe it. And when finished, you're going to have not just a degree, you'll be a different person, a better person. Welcome to Iona.
Aspire, achieve. Iona. Call Iona College at 1-800-231-IONA.
The regular season champions from Marist College have themselves an 8-point lead in the MAAC quarterfinals over Canisius. The MAAC fans get in the game. Play the MAAC Text to Win Trivia Challenge powered by Verizon Wireless. Just text the word MAAC to 2244 from your Verizon Wireless phone for your chance to win prizes only from Verizon Wireless. Verizon Wireless, we never stop working for you. And I tell you, it does have a feel for Poughkeepsie here. One of the great home court advantages in the conference is at the McCann Center, and you can see all the red behind the Marist bench, and actually that red wraps all the way around that end zone and then to behind us. So, well, about 40% of the building is red right now. They've got the pep band, they've got the students who've made the drive from Poughkeepsie, and I'm sure they all have their hotel reservations through Monday night because they are looking for a MAAC championship. 9 o'clock will be the championship game on Monday night. And they hope that Brady and the boys are the ones climbing the step ladder to cut down the nets. Our stat track for you to catch you up on what's been occurring through the first 12.5 minutes of action.
See Canisius with just 14 field goal attempts, a couple of those from deep, but limited number of shots because they've turned it over 10 times. That's the big stat so far in the first half.
A terrific boost inside for Wilfred Spongy Benjamin, now with 8 points.
And that's the other big stat. 22 points in the paint so far for Marist, up against just 4 points in the paint for Canisius. So the front court certainly has been dominating inside. He's a big part of that. He's now 4 for 5 from the floor, as is Stilfen. Those two guys dominating inside.
Pavel Malesa has come into the game off the bench for Canisius. And Wilfred Spongy Benjamin with 8 points. The average is only 5.4 per game, so he and Gerald Carter have already exceeded their season average off the Marist bench.
Well, Malesa had a good game last night as he had 8 points, including 2 threes. See him go down hard on that contact. A terrific shooter, a guy that every time he catches the ball, guys are crowding out to him because of his three-point shooting ability.
He is a 92% foul shooter who would be leading the league if he got to the line more frequently. Meanwhile, 17 of the 22 points scored for Canisius have come from 2 people, Herring and Wilson. Now Malesa doing his part. Here's a good look at Matt Brady, this year's MAAC Coach of the Year.
Canisius picking up in token full court pressure. When the ball goes in to Jared Jordan's hands, all of a sudden it becomes token pressure.
Jordan drives on Turner with the left hand. Benjamin up above the rim, couldn't get the tip. Couple of good looks for the Red Foxes, but they couldn't cash in. Turner looking to set up Wilson on the low post. Here's Harris stepping through, and it's blocked out of bounds by Farmer. And Canisius will inbound with 13 seconds to go.
And Harris, their leading scorer coming into the tournament, but again, he's been bothered by a knee injury coming down the stretch. You can see he doesn't have the same type of quickness and explosive dribble drive ability that he had early in the season.
Malesa misses his first field goal attempt. Jordan pushing the tempo back the other way. Always has his head on a swivel. The defender backed off and pulled the trigger, but couldn't finish. And here comes Corey Herring. Nice idea to Wilson, but the pass was behind him, and Marist gets it back.
Now it's a broken record. Canisius trying to get out and run, but if you don't take care of the basketball, you're not going to convert out on the break. The 11th turnover for Canisius. Right idea by Corey Herring. Bad execution. You see the pass clearly well behind Wilson as he's unable to come up with the catch.
You see the efficiency on the field goal attempts for Herring and Wilson. And then Herring picks up the foul.
But you saw just 15 field goal attempts. You got to get the ball up on the rim to give yourself a chance. Canisius with those 11 turnovers shooting themselves in the foot.
And now 3 personal fouls for Corey Herring. He'll have to go out of the game. And Tom Parada loses his leading scorer here this afternoon. 11 points for Herring as he has been terrific from the perimeter. Whittington's pass knocked away by Wilson. Whittington gets it back, and the Red Foxes reload. Whittington is yet to score, although that shouldn't be a problem for him. We've seen several occasions this year where he goes scoreless in the first half and ends up with 23 for the game or something along those lines. He can heat it up in a hurry. Malesa got himself stuck and made a terrible pass. Over and back violation. Harris apparently was the first to touch on the long Malesa pass. Either way, Marist was going to get the ball back.
Another turnover. Defensive pressure certainly for Marist, but just careless with the basketball. Canisius now with 12 turnovers. Marist on the other side taking care of it with just 2.
Well, with Jared Jordan at the point, he leads the league in assist-to-turnover ratio, leads the country in assists per game. It stands to reason that they would not be turning the ball over that much. Farmer killed his dribble in anticipation of feeding Orban on the post. And now Jordan resets with 13 to shoot.
And you see on every high ball screen, Turner's playing behind, trying to force Jordan to take the shot instead of getting into the lane, creating havoc, kicking out to others.
Well, without Stilfen and without Smith on the floor, it comes down to this, an air ball at the shot clock buzzer. So when you've got Orman, Farmer, and Benjamin on the floor, you don't have as many weapons for Jordan to find.
And again, even though the fact that Jordan's an accomplished scorer for Matt Brady at nearly 18 points per game, they're not as good when he's taking a ton of shots. When they're at their best is when he's getting into the lane and kicking to others.
Well, it's an interesting matchup for Jordan. Coming out of high school in Hartford, really only 2 Division I schools were recruiting him. It was these 2 schools, Canisius and Marist. He wound up choosing to stay closer to home and taking the Poughkeepsie school. And my, how it's worked out. But you imagine the fortunes of the 2 programs had it gone the other way, and had he chosen to sign with Mike McDonald out of Canisius, what an impact he would have had on that program. Marist on top by 6. Orman goes out of the ball game, and Stilfen comes back in. And And Darnell Wilson back to the line. He's got 6 points, including a couple of free throws. Wilson coming off the big game last night. 19 points, 8 rebounds in the victory over St. Peter's. Canisius comes in with a record of 12-18 under first-year head coach Tom Parada, taking on the #1 seeded Marist Red Foxes. Marist with 23 wins. They've already secured a spot in the NIT if they don't win the MAAC tournament here this weekend.
And those 23 wins, a school record, as are their 14 wins in MAAC play. So they've accomplished a ton already this year. But obviously, Matt Brady talked about it when we spoke with him after he was awarded the Coach of the Year award. He said, you know what, we've done a lot, but we want to leave a lasting footprint on this Marist basketball program. To do that, they've got to win here this weekend and get to the NCAA tournament.
Now, Coach Brady says we navigated a minefield, trying to get a little bit further away from that minefield, and the man who will lead them to that promised land, Jared Jordan with 2. Turner answers at the other end.
The 2 point guards going head-to-head, rushing the ball up the floor.
Well, this is what the folks here in Bridgeport were hoping to see. Jordan back the other way with his own answer and a chance for a 3-point play.
And Javon Robinson, the freshman, not helping his teammate out. A solid ball screen, but Robinson's got to talk. Let Frank Turner know that it's there so he can slip behind it to take away the driving lane. See right here, no talk and communication defensively. Turner runs into the screen. All of a sudden, he's kind of jarred. And if you do that, Jordan's just going to turn the corner and kill you. You have to keep Jared Jordan out of the lane.
And Matt Brady says it's fair to compare this man, Jared Jordan, to Steve Nash of the Phoenix Suns when Nash was at this stage of his development as a senior at Santa Clara.
Well, they both have the ability to push the ball up the floor, find people in transition. The other thing they both do is they run all day long. Both of them are like the Energizer Bunny, never stop it.
Carter off the block shot by Stilfen will hand off to Mr. Jordan. Inside to Benjamin with the drop step, and he is playing huge. 10 points for the junior forward.
As is the entire front line of Marist. They're dominating inside.
10 for him, 9 for Stilfen. And you see the points in the paint, 28-6. Malesa no, and Carter another reserve with another big rebound. Dangerous pass. Whittington couldn't reach it. And the turnover against Jordan. We'll take a break, and Marist continues to set the pace, trying to pick up the tempo a little bit. They've done it successfully to the tune of a 36-27 lead over Canisius.
College Bridget.
The Marist College Pep Band entertaining the folks here in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And the Red Foxes entertaining the fans as well with a 9-point lead. MAAC basketball fans, you can win great prizes in the MAAC Pathmark Slam Dunk program at your local Pathmark store. Now through March 9th, when you use your Pathmark Advantage card to buy select flavors of Capri Sun Base 10 packs or Capri Sun Roaring Waters, select Kool-Aid Jammers 10 packs, or select Nabisco Single Serve Tray Packs, you are entered to win a Pathmark gift card and round-trip travel on JetBlue Airways, or a gift card from FYE. For more information, visit your local Pathmark store or log on to MAACsports.com.
So the shooting numbers, how about Marist with twice as many field goal attempts as Canisius? Canisius with those 13 turnovers. Turner comes up empty on his first field goal attempt, but gets another opportunity as he gets to the basketball quicker than anybody else for the offensive putback. Canisius now going zone. They played a ton of 2-3 zone last night in their win against St. Peter's, but with the way that Marist shoots the 3, it's tough to play them a lot of zone.
Malesa got beat off the drive, but then he had the nice block shot from behind on the Whittington runner. Ultimately, though, James, the man under the mask, picks up the personal foul.
Well, last night the 2-3 zone was so important for Canisius. Did a great job out of it. Held St. Peter's to just 48 points, but the Peacocks helped, going just 3 for 18 from beyond the three-point line. But when you're thinking about it and you're game planning, tough to go into it saying we're going to play a lot of zone with the way that Marist can stretch you out at the three-point line.
And with the contribution of Spongy Benjamin off the bench, now with 11 points, as we take another look, Whittington is yet to score, but Benjamin, Johnny on the spot. And with James Smith on the bench with a couple of fouls and Stilfen going back to the bench right now, how do you quantify what Benjamin has done coming off the bench? You can't even imagine that he would have stats like this at this point in the ballgame.
Well, certainly a guy that's given him energy all season long off the bench. We talked about the fact that Matt Brady said when he scores the basketball, everything else is easier for our team on the offensive end.
And there is Benjamin on his way to a double-double in the first half alone. 12 points, 8 rebounds for the man who averages 5 and 4.
I'll tell you what, Doug, Marist just looked sharp here in the first 18 minutes of play. You know, they're not playing tight. They're playing, you know, loose, pushing the pace, not afraid to make plays. They look tough.
Well, a lot is made of how you deal with expectations, both good expectations and bad expectations. And there's a travel on Harris, who that's the exact spot in the floor where last night against St. Peter's he twisted his knee and fell to the floor. He has a little trouble with his footwork again.
And Harris has been a non-factor for Tom Parada's team. Big factor, turnovers. 14 turnovers for Canisius.
Jordan and Stilfen, along with Benjamin, Carter, and Whittington for the Red Foxes.
You got to play zone. You got to make sure you shade to Will Whittington. No matter where he is, you can't lose sight of him.
This is Whittington from the corner. It rattled out, and Benjamin again above Robinson for the rebound and drawing another foul on the Canisius Golden Griffins. Benjamin now already, Rob, has his career high 9 rebounds.
And again, his energy, his enthusiasm, and also having to step up with a couple of their other front court guys in foul trouble sitting on the bench.
Miles Orman back into the game, replacing Stilfen.
Matt Brady's gotten unexpected contributions from a couple of different places. Miles Orman with some big minutes. Take a look at a couple of guys sitting on the bench that you expect to have big numbers. Stilfen and Smith with some foul trouble. You go all the way down. Last guy in the shot there was Dave McGarity Jr., who we were talking about earlier.
Benjamin now with 14 points. His career high is 20. Well on his way to that.
Here's where Canisius got to finish strong here in the last minute and 20. Try and get into the locker room under 10. That's not going to happen if you keep giving it away.
Robinson has really struggled here this afternoon.
You wouldn't have to look at too many stats when you're in the locker room. Turnovers for Canisius, and the way that Marist has dominated the paint, and that continues. Both ends. Turnover gets it started at the one end for Canisius. Marist at the other end. Where do they go? They go inside. We talk about all their three-point shooting coming in. Well, it's been their inside interior play that's been the big story.
And how about Miles Orman, whose playing time has been reduced as a senior to next to nothing, getting the chance and cashing in here this afternoon.
And it was funny when I talked to Matt Brady this morning. He said, you know what? I think Miles Orman's going to play a lot more. He said we're going to need his quickness, his athleticism on the defensive end, and that certainly is what happened here in the first half so far.
Under a minute to play first half. Marist has opened up a 13-point lead. Turner tries to drop it off through the hands of James and out of bounds. Another turnover.
So Canisius has not been able to take advantage of their strength, their overall team speed and quickness, because they've kicked it around. 16 first half turnovers. You just cannot compete against a good team like Marist if you don't get the ball up on the rim.
Coming up at halftime, Rob, our MAAC news and notes will also turn back the clock to last Saturday's thriller at the McCann Center in Poughkeepsie, where Siena gave Marist all it could handle, but for the second time this year, the Red Foxes beat the Saints in overtime. Matt Brady's club here looking for win number 24, and he'll have Will Whittington going to the line after the foul against Richard Starling, a walk-on who just came into the game, and now he's getting an earful from his head coach Tom Parada.
Well, you know, Starling's been looking at the scouting report and talking about Whittington, and you got to keep the ball out of his hands, but instead, by grabbing him and tackling him, give Whittington an opportunity to get another 2 quick, easy ones from the line.
Well, not only does Whittington shoot the ball very well, his coach says he's our best defender.
Yeah, which is amazing. Talk about improvement of a guy over his career. Early on in his career, Whittington was their worst defender. So obviously he spent time and has concentrated on that. Canisius just shooting themselves in the foot.
And next to Keedron Clark, the prolific scorer who graduated from St. Peter's last year, Will Whittington is number 2 all-time in the history of the conference in three-point shots.
And you know he gets no open threes. There's always guys running at him. Coming right out of the locker room, guys are guarding him, trying to keep the basketball out of his hands.
Canisius down 15, happy to just wait for a final shot. And with the rate of turnovers that they've had, that's probably a prudent decision.
Just hoping for a shot instead of a turnover. You got to put the ball in play.
Malesa. Wow. Knocks it down with 3 seconds to go in the half. But other than that, the last 10 minutes was all Marist.
Yeah, certainly Canisius looked good in the early going. Corey Herring knocking down some deep threes, but it was the inside play of Spongy Benjamin and company for Marist. One of the reasons why they were able to dominate the paint and dominate the first half.
On the other end, Canisius hoping that that could be a spark heading into the locker room, but right now against the #1 seed and the conference champ, it doesn't look too promising for Canisius, down 12 to the #1 team in the tournament, the Marist Red Foxes.
Front court on the other side, Wilson didn't get that help except from Corey Herring knocking down those early shots.
Frank Turner, the freshman, at the point for Canisius. The lob taken away, another turnover, so the second half starts the way the first half ended for Canisius.
The last thing that Canisius needed to do was turn it over once again to get things started. They're going to get back into the game. They've got to clean that up.
Whittington, Smith, Stilfen, Jordan, and Farmer on the floor for Marist. Here is Stilfen with a big size advantage right up and over Herring, who's got foul trouble and didn't want to really go up and challenge him.
Now you can't let Stilfen get that deep into the post. You see 5 of 6 from the field. He and Benjamin just owning the paint so far here today.
And a great job by Marist and by Coach Brady to recognize, go right at Herring with his 3 fouls, because he's not going to want to pick up number 4. Pavel Malesa with the start here in the second half, along with Wilson, Turner, Harris, and Herring.
And Harris got to figure out a way to get himself going, but you can see just does not have the lateral quickness with that knee injury.
With the shot clock down, just give it to Malesa 24 feet away. He'll fire it up.
It worked at the end of the first half, didn't work there.
Jordan, nice look. Stilfen off the up fake, lays it in. So there's assist number 5 for Mr. Jordan. Stilfen now with 13 points.
And certainly not the start that Canisius needed. Knock down the 3. You figure maybe they could have some energy and play off of that to start the second half, but they have not done it.
Herring rattles home the 3. 14 points now.
Just as he did to start the first half, knocking down the deep 3. He's had a good game. Problem is, he and Wilson have not gotten anybody else to step up and contribute.
Smith from 20. Easy to shoot over Turner, who's listed at 5'10", maybe a little shorter. If you're a 7-footer with a high release, you don't even notice Turner's there.
That's why he's so effective. You know, it's difficult for post guys to get out and guard him. All of a sudden, you put a guard on top of him out on the perimeter on the switch, and he's able to just shoot over top. His three-point shooting numbers, 52 of 127 coming into the season. Still been able to continue the Marist domination in the paint with a nice, strong post up. So then you get one post player killing you inside, and then you get Smith stepping out and knocking down deep threes. He creates such matchup problems for opposing bigs.
Chuck Harris, one of 2 Griffs on the All-MAAC 3rd team. He and his fellow senior Wilson on that All-Star team that was announced by my broadcast partner. Was that yesterday or the day before? It's hard to keep track.
See, I'll tell you what, it seems like a month ago once you get going in these tournaments. A lot of games.
Thursday at 5 o'clock here at the arena at Harbor Yard. The facility has done a tremendous job so far hosting its first MAAC tournament.
Canisius again trying to mix things up on the defensive end. They play some zone there in the first half. Anytime you go zone, better find that guy.
Whittington still cold, but Smith with the putback.
Always tough to rebound out of the zone defense. Harris, before he picks up the charge, shuffled his feet. Jared Jordan trying to sneak in and create another turnover.
James Smith closing out the season in a big sort of way. There's the putback. He now has 10 points, so the Red Foxes with another player in double figures.
Well, he's mobile, skill, and he's got the size as well. Stretches out the defense with that straight-on three from the top of the key.
13 points for the Westchester Community College transfer. Herring with the air ball at the other end, and it has gone bad in a hurry here for Canisius.
And Matt Brady really credits James Smith's improvement on the defensive end for his team's improvement coming down the stretch. Marist, you look at their defensive numbers over the last month of the season, much improved for two reasons. They didn't turn the basketball over as much, and they rebounded the basketball, and he credits Smith for doing a good job blocking out and keeping control and finishing defensive possession.
Then Ben Farmer from just up the road in Clinton, Connecticut, just outside of New Haven, has himself a huge rooting section of friends and family members, and they're happy that he's gotten onto the board with his first three-point shot. And that extends the lead to 59-37. The top-seeded Red Foxes are in complete control.
It's a college in the city, a college in the country.
It's big.
It's small.
It's modern.
Traditional. It's Frisbee on the quad. It's big-time basketball at the Garden.
It's the best of all worlds.
Manhattan College. A world-class faculty and student body on a beautiful, quiet campus, minutes from the center of everything.
So come be a part of it. Manhattan College.
The best of all worlds.
Back in Bridgeport, Marist with the 59-37 lead. 16:50 left to go in the second half with Rob Kennedy. This is Doug Sherman, and Ben Farmer is called by his head coach Matt Brady our unsung hero, and he's thrilled to have the tournament here in Southern Connecticut, just down the road from his home outside of New Haven. And he's had the opportunity for his friends and family to make the short drive. He said that when the tournament's been in Albany or Buffalo, they aren't able to make it, but they're able to see him help open up a 22-point lead. Canisius with Harris pulling the trigger. Jordan, another native of the Nutmeg State. Do you prefer Nutmeg State or Constitution State?
Whichever way you want to go.
All right. Jordan and Farmer are the two young men from Connecticut. How about that?
There you go. Canisius got to get something going. They've not been able to score in transition because Marist is taking care of the basketball.
Javon Robinson misfires. Farmer the rebound, hands off to Whittington, and now Marist in no hurry whatsoever.
Yeah, Canisius just has to settle down. They're down by 22 right now and in danger of this game getting completely away from it.
Stilton's back into the game, being guarded by Herring, so look for that matchup. Here it is, down in the low post, and an offensive foul. Stilton put his shoulder down, and now he has 3 fouls, much like his counterpart, Mr. Herring. We'll take another break. 59-37. The Red Foxes on top comfortably, looking to move on to the MAAC semifinal round tomorrow. Marist 59, Canisius 37 in the MAAC quarterfinals. And if you've missed any of the MAAC tournament action, you want to catch up on it, just go to the website for the conference, MAACsports.com. It is a sea of red here at the arena at Harbor Yard, and maybe some of that is Fairfield fans waiting for tonight's doubleheader with the Stags involved. But the majority of it are the folks who've made the drive from the Mid-Hudson Valley of New York State, coming down from Poughkeepsie. They are wanting to stay here for the weekend, and not just for the men's team, also the women's team, the regular season champs. And Brian George's club won again this afternoon, earlier today, over the Siena Ball Club. Plenty of reason for the Marist fans to cheer. Spongy Benjamin now with 16 points.
As you said, this has been a great winter up at Marist. The women's team now with 27 wins on the season. Them with the school record 23, trying to build upon that. And, you know, so far all season long, it's kind of been a team of destiny. They were the preseason favorites coming in. They certainly were able to live up to those expectations throughout the regular season. They've got so many seniors. They've got the best player in the league in Jared Jordan. So there's a reason why there's so many people wearing red and so many people made the trip down to Poughkeepsie, because they think it could be a magical weekend.
Farmer connects. He's got 5. That was a 2-point jumper. The lead is up to 26.
And again, that's where Jared Jordan and Marist are at their best. When he gets into the lane and kicks out to other people, boy, they are just tough to guard.
Tough way to pick up your 4th personal foul if you're Corey Herring, but that's how he does it.
20 turnover for Canisius so far. I mean, they're not shooting the basketball, just 1 for 6 here in the second half. What looked like what could be a tough matchup for Marist in the first round. Not who they wanted to see, you know, in that 8 spot because of the matchup against Canisius. Well, it certainly has not played like that. They have been dominant here so far in the early parts of this game.
Lob into Whittington, who's posting up and connects over Javon Robinson. So there's some of the versatility of Whittington. Don't underestimate him as just a spot-up shooter.
His first field goal, can't find it from beyond the 3-point line. 0 for 5 there. So let me just go inside and post up.
And let my running mate lob it up over the top. I'll have enough strength to hold off the defender who's bigger than me and then lay it in. Herring has been the only answer at the offensive end for Canisius. He now has 16 points.
And just not enough so far here. Tell you what, first couple minutes it looked like we were going to have a terrific matchup. 13 all heading into that first media timeout as both teams came out guns a-blazing. Marist has continued their hot streak. How about 9 for 10 from the floor to start things off here in the second half?
That includes 3 of 4 from beyond the arc. Here is Whittington. Robinson knocked it away, and a whistle and a timeout from Matt Brady, who saw that his senior was stuck. And so with 6 on the shot clock, they will diagram an inbound play. Well, the Siena head coach, Fran McCaffrey, scouting this ball game. His team is awaiting the winner of this one in tomorrow night's 6 o'clock semifinal game. And again, if Marist does hold on to this big lead, we will be in for a treat tomorrow night.
Yeah, I don't think it would be a stretch to go pencil Marist in the way that they're playing right now. And remember, those were 2 terrific ball games throughout the regular season. Marist and Siena played 2 overtime games. Not just the game that we previewed there or went on the flashback at halftime, but Marist able to win up in Albany as well earlier in the season in January, and that game went overtime as well.
And Siena won earlier today 75-72, holding off a very game Manhattan team. But Michael Haddix and company and Kenny Hasbrook scored 20 for Siena to move on to the Final Four of the MAAC tournament. There's a nifty look. No assist given on that one, but Smith able to knock it home.
It's amazing how patient he is. Most guys would have kicked it out. He gets rid of the ball just as he's about to hit the floor.
And one of the things that he's able to do that typically coaches coach against is leave his feet and always find somebody. He's able to hold on to the ball. He'll leave his feet.
And look how late it is.
Somebody.
Yeah, I mean, he nearly is on the floor by the time he lets go of the basketball. And you're right, it's an uncanny ability. I mean, he has patience and he just has such great vision.
His predecessor, Sean Kennedy, had a terrific run at Marist. He was similar in that way, that I've never seen 2 guys more consistently leave their feet and not have it be a turnover. It's a cardinal sin, and they do it all the time and wind up picking up assists off it. Well, I know still with 13 minutes to go, Rob, it's a long way to go, but do you give, if you're Matt Brady, any thought to resting your guys at this point?
Well, he hasn't all season long. He's not afraid to play Jared Jordan major minutes as well as Will Whittington. He's very comfortable when those guys are on the floor, but you know what? They're coming here to win 3 games in 3 days. You're up by 28. You got to start thinking about getting those guys some rest.
I would think so. I mean, you could put him on the bench and Canisius could rattle off 20 straight points and you'd still be in front by 8.
But when he tries to take out Jared Jordan, he'll have an argument because Jordan don't want to come out of the game. He can play 120 minutes without any problem. He's the Energizer Bunny, as we said before. He'll run all day long.
12:40 left to go in regulation.
And certainly Matt Brady won't start thinking about that for a while. But once you get, down to around the 6-minute mark, I say go ahead and why take a chance?
I don't know. I wouldn't even wait that long. Herring trying to throw it down. Orman recovered to stop the dunk, but he picks up the foul. Foul number 2 on Miles Orman, who had a real nice first half coming off the bench.
Corey Herring, who had a quiet game last night, eventually got into double figures with 10 points. Nothing quiet about his start to the game here tonight. Nothing quiet about his performance so far. You see his 16 points, effective with 6 for 8 from the field as well.
This season, Aero Postal will donate a t-shirt for every free throw made during conference play to youth groups in the MAAC community. And this season, coming into the tournament this weekend, over 2,500 foul shots and t-shirts on the hook. Thank you very much, Aero Postal.
Well, so far, I'm 0 for 2 with how I thought these 2 games would go. I thought Siena would have an easy time of it against Manhattan in the first game, especially the way Manhattan finished up the regular season. But the Jaspers, as Whittington hits his first 3 of the game. How many times does he go scoreless in the first half from beyond the 3-point line and then, drop 7, 8 threes in the second half?
He can heat up in a hurry, no question about that.
But I also thought that Canisius would give Marist a tough test here in the quarterfinal, and that has not worked out.
Well, so too did Marist head coach Matt Brady. He truly thought this is a tough matchup for us. Usually 1 versus 8, you might expect a one-sided game, but he wasn't so sure about that coming in.
And it wasn't just coach speak. I mean, talking to him this morning, clearly he was worried about the matchup, the fact that the athleticism and team speed and quickness of Canisius played opposite what at times can be Marist's Achilles heel, their overall team speed.
It is a 30-point lead, another double-double for Jared Jordan. 12 points, 10 assists, and that 3-pointer. Red Foxes in control. As advertised, the Marist Red Foxes, the #1 team in the conference, showing it here this afternoon on top by 30, and that well-deserved break in the action for Jared Jordan with his 14th double-double on the season.
Certainly with the 30-point lead, as you and I were talking, why not give him a rest? He's a guy that doesn't like to come out of the game. But again, when you're looking at winning 3 games in 3 days, if you can keep some fresh legs, you might as well go ahead and take advantage of it.
So now you have 2 Red Foxes with double-doubles. You'd figure Jared Jordan would be one of them, but you wouldn't necessarily have figured Spongy Benjamin. But now 16 points and 10 rebounds, his first career double-double.
And remember, nearly had that double-double in the first half as he had a monster game. And the reason why Marist was able to get off to the quick early start and a 12-point halftime lead, their dominance inside.
Frank Turner with a burst of speed. He's now into double figures with 11. Without Jordan, little ball pressure for Herring, who looks like he's had his career come to an end. That is his 5th foul, and short of a miracle, the young man from Buffalo has played his final foul, and short of a miracle, the young man from Buffalo has played his final game as a Canisius Golden Griffin.
Now their leading scorer and rebounder last year, at a different role for this team this year. Looked upon to lock people down defensively, rebound the basketball, but had a very good offensive performance here in his last game. 18 points, and remember, he's been in foul trouble all game long, so 18 points in limited minutes.
And the folks who've made the trip from Buffalo in support of the Golden Griffins are giving Corey Herring a standing ovation. They appreciate what he's done the last couple of years. And so the former Baylor Bear who transferred back home takes a seat. And many of the folks who we sort of saw there are Chuck Harris's family. A whole line of people wearing Canisius number 14 jerseys. Here's Whittington.
It's amazing how quickly he gets the ball out of his hands on those three-point shot attempts. Coming off that screen, he's not even squared until the ball leaves his hands. And then by then, he certainly has those shoulders squared. Talk about terrific outside shooters and three-point threats. Nobody better than Will Whittington.
Orman passed it out of bounds. Turnover back to Canisius.
And he's got to have that quick release because, as we talked about it earlier, you know, every scouting report, one of the first things that they talk about is you can't let Whittington get open looks. So guys are running at him all game long.
This is quarterfinal number 2 of the 2007 Bank of America MAAC basketball tournament. Coming up this evening, 2 more games. The 7:30 scheduled tip time will have Niagara against Ryder, and the nightcap Loyola versus Fairfield. And Marist well on its way to running the winning streak to 9 straight games. Just as hot, Niagara also having won 8 in a row. Coming into the play today, each were tied for the 10th longest active winning streak in the country at 8 in a row. And Marist will move up just a bit with this one here today.
And not often that you see 2 teams coming in on those types of long winning streaks heading into the tournament. And then Siena, who now with their win today, they've won 8 out of their last 9. So some of the best teams in the league, 3 out of the top 4 really coming in hot.
Shea McNamara, junior from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, in the game. And he has his first points here this afternoon. Melesa fouled on the 3 and a chance for a 4-point play, courtesy of the personal against Gerald Carter.
Well, he knocked down a forced 3 to end the first half. Shea McNamara at the other side ends up getting a nice open look without Jared Jordan in the game. Different guys need to handle the basketball. Not a 3 from McNamara. Instead, well inside the 3-point line.
Jordan back in. See how long at the 9:10 mark he plays. Maybe a couple of minutes. I would think there's a good chance we'll see the end of the Marist bench before the end of the afternoon.
Well, Marist really doesn't have a backup point guard. One of the reasons why they never take him out of the game.
Kind of hard to recruit a point guard, though, when you've got a guy like Jared Jordan. Not many people want to come and play behind him because you know you're not going to get many minutes.
Nope, absolutely. And that's why they've got a couple of guards coming in next year that Matt Brady's expecting big things from. Jeremiah Bowman out of Washington, D.C. Jay Gavin having a terrific season for Bishop McNamara. And so Matt Brady certainly going to be different not having Jared Jordan on the floor next year, but he's got a group of guards coming in that he's very, very excited about.
And if you are a high school guard, you might want to align yourself with Matt Brady, because as an assistant at St. Joseph's under Phil Martelli, he was called the shot doctor and played an instrumental role in the development of both Jameer Nelson and Delonte West, who went from that Atlantic 10 school that doesn't produce lots and lots of NBA players. Both of them are now starting in the NBA, and he has certainly played a big role in the development offensively of Jared Jordan, who as a freshman played for Dave McGarity and kind of scratched the surface, and you could see, but once Coach Brady came in and he really helped him mature and expand his game and really helped give him the confidence to say, go out and do your thing and shoot the basketball, look for your own.
And that's the key. He really worked on his shot. Jared Jordan, after his freshman year, worked on it, changed his shot a bit, not only his mechanics but his confidence, saying, hey, you know what, you've got to be aggressive, you've got to look for your own shot. By doing that, now teams have to go guard him outside the 3-point line, and that's when he's able to blow by, get into the lane. Once he's in the lane, you're dead to rights.
Well, after the combined senior season that Nelson and West put together for St. Joe's, they went on to what are good NBA careers, and there are those who think Jordan has that in his future. Most every website you go to that has mock drafts says that Jordan could go in the second round, and certainly you can get a lot of NBA types to tell you that as well.
See Jordan, the senior point guard. Here's the freshman counterpart on the other side. Frank Turner, the co-rookie of the year in the league. He's got the ability to have to step his game up as well. We talked about Jared Jordan working on his outside shooting ability after his freshman year. That's the one thing that Frank Turner's got to do. He's got to get himself a consistent outside shot to once again force guys to have to go guard him from beyond the three-point line, because if you have to go guard him at 20 feet, he's so quick with the basketball, you're not going to be able to keep him out of the lane.
Whittington's fouled by Harris. That's only the 6th team foul against Canisius. By the way, the previous foul was against Wilson, who has 4. Corey Herring has already fouled out of this ball game. Now James Smith comes back into the lineup, and Miles Orman takes a seat. Well, the numbers for Jared Jordan across the board, again, after not really putting up huge stats as a freshman. He's about to reach 1,500 career points. He's nearing 800 career assists and has over 500 career rebounds.
Closing in on the all-time assist mark at Marist. Came into the tournament needing 21 to pass Drafton Davis.
Anytime we can say Drafton Davis,
I love it.
Twice in a broadcast, it's a good broadcast.
And certainly he had a guy that finished off a lot of those assists. The dunking Dutchman up front, Rick Smith.
It's been 20 years. Hard to believe, but 1987, the last time Marist College went to the NCAA tournament, and it was that combination. Drafton Davis at the point, and Rick Smits on the post, as Darnell Wilson gets a little irked at Shea McNamara for that foul. Do the Red Foxes have another trip to the tournament in their sights? Well, a couple days to go, but it looks like they're on their way to the semifinals.
Success comes true.
St. Peter's College, success is a team effort. St. Peter's College, education one student at a time.
(75-53), Marist with the comfortable lead. 7:20 left to go here in the second half. This copyrighted telecast of the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference may not be retransmitted, reproduced, or rebroadcast without the express written consent of the MAAC. Darnell Wilson at the line, playing likely his final game in what has been a very, very good career at Canisius. His name will be on many of the all-time Canisius lists for quite some time.
Top 10 in rebounding, top 15 in scoring with over 1,300 points.
Benjamin with another rebound. That's 16 points and 11 rebounds for the junior reserve who transferred to Marist College this year from Williston State out in North Dakota.
Marist content to take some time off the shot clock.
Well, the lead stretched to 30 a couple of minutes ago. Whittington looking to get it back there. Again, his second three-pointer here in the second half, and now he's into double figures. Maybe he'll get to that 23 again.
And again, quiet in the first half and then loud in the second half.
Harris, no. Wilson misses on the putback. The tip by Malesa, no. And Malesa again pulls it back out.
Good effort for Canisius. You know, you're down by 25. It's easy to pack it in. Instead, the Golden Griffins with some good effort on the offensive boards.
Phil Benson has come into the game for the first time for Canisius, number 24 in blue. Benjamin with another rebound, building on his career high. Well, field goal shooting not a problem for the Red Foxes, as is usually the case. They shoot a good percentage. Points off of turnovers, well, the Griffs have made it very easy for Marist to score a lot of points off of turnovers because they have obliged with 23 turnovers, including 16 in the first half.
When you look at those paint numbers, two things. Obviously, they got the first half outburst by Spongy Benjamin inside, as well as Ryan Stilpen. But a lot of those points in the paint with the back end of turnover. rushing the ball up the floor and scoring it in transition.
Will Whittington has gone to the bench as Jordan shoots 2.
The next big question is, when will Jordan go back to the bench, leading by 26, and Whittington sitting down. You got to figure that his day probably is done.
And that for Jared Jordan, now 1,500 career points as a Red Fox. He says coming out of high school in Hartford, I wasn't a very good player. He's a pretty good player now.
I'd say so. Look at those numbers. 10 assists once again. And he's really worked hard on his game. We talk all the time about the fact that he's a gym rat, that he's totally consumed by basketball, watches a ton of NBA games, and you can see that. His efforts and the time that he's put in on the court, working on his shot, changing his shot, has made him a much more complete player. And he knows that he still has to become a better shooter to have an opportunity to play at the next level.
Now there's a rare turnover for Jordan. But how often can you say about the Conference Player of the Year and an NBA prospect that he is humble, unselfish, and modest?
And a great teammate. Yes. You talk to everybody in this Marist program, the guys that are there, he's the type of guy that you want to make sure that you're playing with. When you step on the floor, if you're open, you're going to get the basketball. He is a terrific teammate.
And that was something that was instilled in him by his father growing up in Hartford, that if you are a sharing point guard, everyone will want to play with you. McNamara with a layup.
Or a sharing forward right there is Spongy Benjamin with the nice pass. You know, if you watch Jared Jordan every day in practice, you're going to pick some things up.
Well, it truly is infectious. I mean, there's no question about it. We've all played games, pickup games, high school games, college games, where if you've got somebody who's out there just chucking the ball, that also is infectious. If one guy starts firing, if your best player doesn't share, no one shares. And conversely, if your best player shares, everybody tends to share.
And if you're at a pickup game and you don't know Jared Jordan, you haven't seen him play, you're not going to pick him. Then all of a sudden you play once or twice, and that's the first guy you're going to pick.
I want him.
Especially if you're a shooter.
Yep.
Because he'll get you shots.
As a fourth grader, his family moved from the suburbs of Hartford, out in West Hartford, into the city limits, and that certainly helped to aid his development, playing against better competition. And you certainly see some of the moves that he honed on that Elizabeth Park playground in use here in the context of a structured basketball game.
Tell you what, Canisius starting to close in on a number they were certainly hoping that they would never get to during the season. You look at Jared Jordan going over the 1,500-point mark. You talked about their 30 turnovers earlier this season against West Virginia. Canisius may hit that number.
Standing ovation for Jared Jordan, and you see Shooter, the mascot, saying, "We're not worthy," bowing to the master. He has been replaced by Kalen Gregory, a redshirt sophomore from the Virgin Islands. So Jordan's day is done. 14 points, 10 assists on 5 of 13 shooting. Struggled from the perimeter, missing 5 of his 6 three-point attempts, but nonetheless, he has his team headed for a semifinal date tomorrow night at 6 o'clock against Siena. And immediately into the scoring column, Kalen Gregory. McNamara still hustling. Turner with the dribble.
So for Canisius, certainly they had confidence coming into that game. That confidence was shattered early on by the fine play of Marist, but all part of the rebuilding project for Tom Parada in his first year. They've got 5 guys that they signed early, a class that they're very excited by, led by Julius Coles, Elton Frazier, as well as Greg Loggins, a couple guys from upstate New York that they expect big things from next year.
And Canisius' final record will be 12-19. And they, as we talked about, had an 8-game losing streak coming into the MAAC tournament. But they did win their first-round game last night, eliminating St. Peter's 62-48. So something good to take from their trip to Bridgeport, back with them to Western New York.
And they had a very good January, 6-3, and then all of a sudden they got sick and banged up. You had the knee injury to Chuck Harris. He was never the same. He missed 4 games. They went 1-3 in that stretch, and then Corey Herring was sick, had the flu, out for a little while, and all of a sudden when Tom Parada lost a couple of those bodies, this is a team that didn't have any depth. All of a sudden with the injuries and illnesses, all of a sudden they got themselves in the midst of that 8-game losing streak.
And through it all, Rob, Frank Turner has been a constant. The MAAC co-rookie of the year along with Edwin Ubelis of Siena. Turner now with 18 points here tonight. Has done a terrific job of helping lay the foundation for what should be a terrific college career for the Golden Griffins.
Absolutely, and the thing is, as well, as the point guard, you know, you talk about building a program around guys. Well, he's a guy that everybody else is going to want to play with. So when you're going out and you're recruiting guys to say, hey, we've got a point guard that can push the pace, we can get up and down the floor, and we like to run. And so not necessarily a guy that you're going to focus everything around, but certainly his abilities are going to help you attract other good players who are going to want to play with such a talented, quick point guard.
Gerald Carter with the three-point shot, and then Dave McGarity Jr., who we talked about earlier, picks up the personal foul. We'll take a break with 1:49 left in regulation. Jared Jordan and the Red Foxes enjoying a terrific day here in Bridgeport, Connecticut.
This is Siena, a college that builds competence and character, where you're part of a team, a place of academic rigor that builds leaders, offering opportunity and values that prepare you for change, leadership, and life. The tradition, the community of Siena, educating for success, one student at a time.
We're back in Bridgeport, Connecticut, 1:42 to go in the second. It has been a one-sided affair since about midway through the first half. The game was tight through the first several minutes, but then the Red Foxes put on a burst and led comfortably at halftime, 44-32. And they have just stretched it out. The lead was up to 30 at one point, and cruising in to the semifinals. The personal foul committed by Joe Keegan, a junior from Brick, New Jersey.
Certainly Canisius has not played well. They turned it over, but I think you'd agree, Doug, Marist looked very good right from the get-go. Even at the end of the first half, even when they were only leading by 12, it felt like they were up by 20.
Yep.
They were dominant right from the start.
And again, if not for a Pavel Malesa three right at the halftime horn, hard foul given. Unnecessary. Good for Papianium to get back up and not be offended by that, but a little bit too hard. A foul by Shea McNamara with 1:18 to go in a 30-point ball game. So Papianium will go to the free throw line. But there's no question Matt Brady's club has been in complete control, as you might expect here this afternoon.
Well, the flagrant foul, so Neem will take the two foul shots with nobody standing around. Canisius will get the basketball back. Good call by John Hughes, because as you said, just a little bit too much, not necessary. But Marist has looked good. And I think the key, we talked about it from the start of the game, coming out and playing pressure free. This team was not tight.
Yep.
When they came out and just kind of flew around the court, their offense got into rhythm, and when they do that, boy, they are just tough to beat.
Vince Anthony, a sophomore from Burlington City, New Jersey, into the game with a steal. So each of the end of the bench reserves for the Red Foxes has put a crooked number into the stat sheet one way or the other. Under a minute remaining. Here is Dave McGarity Jr. Had the pass deflect. And the shot off the mark by Kalen Gregory.
So Siena came in and they were able to survive and advance. Certainly a tough one, in doubt the entire time. Marist with a three-pointer at the buzzer to try and force overtime. On the other side, Marist, they come in and have an unexpectedly easy time of it as they're able to come up with a blowout win.
Foul on McNamara, not nearly as hard as the previous one, but a chance for a three-point play for Canisius.
But the funny thing is, you can throw both those out because it doesn't matter how you get to the next round. You can win in a blowout and all of a sudden stub your toe the next time out, or survive, advance, feel like you're lucky, and then all of a sudden the next time out you don't play so tight. Not that Siena was necessarily tight coming down the stretch, but a couple times you saw a little bit of angst in the face of a couple of players, as well as Fran McCaffrey in a close game coming down the stretch. But tell you what, if the semifinals anything like their 2 meetings in the regular season, that should be a terrific ball game.
The winning streak moves to 9. Marist improves to 24-7, and the Red Foxes are on to the MAAC Final Four. Jared Jordan, Matt Brady, and company will take on Siena tomorrow night at 6 o'clock.
Well, they passed their first test with flying colors. They flew around the floor, had great energy, played loose right from the start, and they showed you why they are the #1 seed coming into the tournament. Boy, did the Red Foxes look good.
We'll take a break and come back and wrap things up here in Bridgeport.